New order. It's great to see everyone here tonight. Should be a pretty good little meeting before us, and some interesting and nice things to say, I think, about a lot of people. So, first thing on our agenda right now is our public hearing. It's ordinance rezoning Bill Hawk property along Old Boones Creek Road, parcel 98.01, Washington County tax max 52, containing approximately 10 acres from R1, which is low density residential, to PRD, which is planned residential district. Anyone here to speak to that? Mr. Hawk? If you will, just state your name and address.
Bill Hawk, 39 Single Tree Court, Johnson City, Tennessee. And happy to answer questions.
Are you in favor or against the request?
Well, let's see. Don't get me confused this early. Why'd you put it on here first? No. I'm for it, of
Okay.
course. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you working
you.
so well with the Planning Commission.
Yeah,
I know.
happy to be part of the town.
I think
So,
it worked out a great
It is.
great decision.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll close that public hearing and move into our regular meeting. First item on the agenda is our opening prayer. Vice Mayor Adam Dixon will lead that.
Let us all pray. Dear God, we truly have so much to thank you for, and we are very, very grateful unto you, from whom all blessings flow. We saw a very difficult time. And God, we just thank you for, at a time when it could have been a lot of calamity and catastrophe. God, we saw during a time of holiday time, joy and goodwill that you brought to the earth. God, we saw it displayed in a very tense time. People could have been extremely frustrated. And some of that frustration would have been justified, but they were very kind and gracious. We saw people that worked for this town that could have been unduly stressed, but they exhibited loyalty and a sense of professionalism. And God, we are just so grateful that at a very difficult time, we got through and we got on the other side. We're so grateful for town employees that banded together. We're so grateful for, again, their focus and their determination. Ultimately, God, we have seen, again, a sense of positive success. And God, we just ask you, Lord, for more of the increase. God, we're grateful, again, for the community in which we live. And God, we're grateful for this board. And we ask, God, that you guide our deliberations and that everything, God, be to your glory. We ask it in your name. Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Adam. Ruth, who do you have for the pledge? Very good.
Please stand standing and face the flag and put your hand on your heart or sleeve. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ruth. All right, Mr. Recorder, roll call, please.
Mayor Vest,
Here.
Alderman Causey,
Here.
Alderman Cattermine,
Here.
Alderman Dixon, here, Alderman Wolf.
Here.
All right, we're all present. First item up is our consent agenda. Alderman, is anything in that you want to see pulled?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented, Mayor.
We got a motion to approve from Alderman Wolf,
Second.
second from Alderman Causey. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Mr. Recorder.
Alderman Wolf,
Aye.
Alderman Causey,
Aye.
Alderman Cattermine,
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Motion carried. Going into our regular agenda now and our financial report. Alderman, you got any questions or comments about our financial report? If not, I'll take
Hang on one second.
Yep.
Robert, are you satisfied with our progress on the catch-up? Are you getting there?
Yes.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Is there anything else you need from us at this point?
No, not this one.
Okay. Will you promise to tell us if there is?
Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you.
Roberts and the group in there has done great work to get that looking like it does right now. I guess one thing I always look at in that financial report is just our local sales tax collection. Another good month, up over 11% over the year before. So things continue to progress in Jonesborough. So nice to see that.
Make a motion, we approve the financial report as presented.
Got a motion to approve financial report by Alderman Wolf.
I'll second that.
Got a second from Alderman Dixon. Any other discussion? Call for the vote, Mr. Recorder.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Counterman.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Now we'll move into some communication from myself and just a couple little things to knock out before we get to an important proclamation. Got some committee appointment. It's be my appointment to the Recreation Advisory Committee. Had a great conversation with Walter Buford, and he agreed to accept this position, and we hope to find more use for him in the future too. So, Alderman, if you would, I'd like to see a motion to approve that.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve from Alderman Dixon,
Proudly second.
second from Alderman Wolf. Any other discussion? Call for the vote, Mr. Recorder.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
Excuse me.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
See,
Alderman Wolf.
I would have failed at Simon Says. Aye.
Alderman Counterman.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Just a couple of brief comments. One, just about, we can't forget, we just had an outstanding holiday and Christmas season here in Jonesborough. Downtown had never looked more beautiful. People really enjoyed, I think, that the whole season. So thanks to Cameo and her team, they really did have downtown looking great. And with the cooperation with JAMSA, we have great events down there. So just really impressed with that. And really pleased. A lot of times when I drive home, I'll cruise by Lincoln Park up there by the senior center just to see the progress. And Craig has got that looking great up there right now. It's exciting to see that park just getting more grander as it grows. So really enjoying that. And then just as Adam said, you know, with our water crisis, probably the biggest thing come out of that for me was just our leadership here in Jonesborough acted quick, probably quicker than anybody else, and made some great decisions to allow us to get up and run a little bit quicker. So just thanks to the people here at the town of Jonesborough for responding the way they did. And as Adam said, the community was, you know, really supportive and understanding in such a stressful time. So that's that for that. And then I've got a proclamation. I got Mr. Darrell Carter here. Appreciate you coming to join us. I'm going to read this for you. Whereas Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a federal holiday occurring on the third Monday of January each year, and is observed as a national day of service to celebrate the civil rights leader's life and legacy. And whereas Dr. King envisioned an America where little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. And whereas Dr. King envisioned communities where everybody can be great because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. And whereas Dr. King believed that life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And whereas the local Martin Luther King Planning Committee chose the theme, building connections to our beloved community to compel the next generation of leaders to manifest Dr. King's dream of engaging in acts of kindness and empathy. And whereas the local MLK Planning Committee has planned a variety of activities to recognize Martin Luther King Day of service and commemorate Dr. King's commitment to racial and human camaraderie. Then now, therefore, I, Chuck Bass, Mayor of the Town of Jonesborough, do hereby encourage fellow citizens and businesses of Tennessee's oldest town to join in honoring the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. through the National Martin Luther King Day of Service and local related activities.
On behalf of the planning committee, we're grateful for this recognition. This is an important time for us to engage one another. Everybody deserves dignity and respect. The
Probably not.
I would like to nominate Alan Weems, Program Director for the Senior Center for Employees of Mine. Alan is responsible for all the planning and implementing of the Senior Center trips, activities, and programs. That means planning an average of 100 trips a year and 14 activities, classes, and programs daily. He is a very detail-oriented person and does an excellent job of arranging all the aspects of our trips, ranging speakers and instructors. He is mindful of members' financial situations and interests and works to offer classes, trips, and programs that are varied. As the Senior Center continues to grow, the needs of our members are ever-changing, and his creativity and organizational skills make him the right person for this position. Alan is not only creative and detail-oriented, he is also very conscious of cost. He works hard to find the best rates to make the trips affordable for our members. Alan also pays attention to the resources of the Senior Center Special Projects account. This is the money that the center fundraises for with the help from our advisory board. This funding enables the Senior Center to offset costs to make them more affordable to our members and help seniors in need, which is also very important to Alan as he works as our options counselor and managed services for homebound seniors. Alan worked diligently on promoting our annual health fair we hosted in May. Our vendor participation was the highest we have had in the 10 years of hosting this event. We raised $3,925, which is $1,000 more than has ever been raised, and this money paid for our volunteer appreciation luncheon. In June, I attribute much of that to Alan's hard work in reaching out and securing so many vendors to participate in our health fair. In July, Alan organized our new monthly trivia challenge. Trivia is a proven beneficial brain health activity and has been the goal of the Senior Center to host this event. Alan secured monthly business sponsors to cover the cost of the trivia host with no cost to the Senior Center. Alan most recently worked on our annual fall craft show and was responsible for coordinating with vendors, securing payment, and organizing the setup. The event raised over $1,800 for the Senior Center, and some of that was used to host our Veterans Day Appreciation Luncheon in November. Not only is Alan great with our Senior Center members, he is also a team player who encourages fellow coworkers and is the funny guy in our office. He is the one who keeps everyone laughing and having a good time. I would like to nominate Alan Weems for Employee of the Month.
Share with the people.
Just thank Mary for the nomination, and John, who's the program coordinator. I couldn't do most of what I do without their support and help and everybody on the staff there. This is my wife, and kid, and loved ones, and the village.
You're a blessing for the town of Jonesborough. We appreciate it.
I think it was Alan that helped me lift like that 500-pound Christmas tree, wasn't it? So that's another strength of yours.
Literally.
It was heavy.
Thank you all for coming.
It was mine that we couldn't fit in our house. The ceilings were like 8 feet. This was 10 feet.
All right, we'll move on. Just had a brief conversation with Glenn a few days ago, and one thing that we've got a lot of information running through the town of Jonesborough, and there's a lot of knowledge in the brains of these aldermen. I tell you, they've all got great strengths, and they ask a lot of questions to the staff down here, and sometimes I think I wish I knew all they knew, and wish they was able to share it more with the other aldermen. So I've contemplated with Glenn of creating some type of liaison where on nights like this they can come back and share something about whatever their expertise is. Terry's great with quality of life projects, and if there's something there that he wants to share with us, I'd love to hear it in a setting like this. So we might set something up like that more formally going forward. And Kelly's with what we're getting ready to go into for the next several years, strong in the infrastructure area. Did a great job with our wastewater renovation and revamp, I guess, the whole system. So I'll lean on him too with our water system improvements. With that being said, we'll move into alderman comments. And Kelly, is anything you Want to share?
I've been asked to speak into the microphone. I'll share that. So
He's in training.
I hope it's clear tonight. We just came through what I would call a formative experience with the town of Jonesborough. And you hope that you don't have to have too many of those, but sometimes you get more of them than you want. And this was probably a little more than we wanted over Christmas. But I'm going to tell you something. As bad as it was, there were a lot of heroes involved in this experience. And I was just in awe of the dedication and in awe of the heart present during so much of this. And that comes from the community. That comes from people who walked the roads looking for leaks with our guys. That came from our wastewater crew, our park and rec crew, our water crew, our street crew. There wasn't really a separate department. We were all in. Everybody, all in during this thing. And that's what you get, folks, when you care. And that's what you get when you have leadership. And, in particular tonight, I want to highlight two of our biggest leaders, but it was a team effort, and they'll tell you it was because of their team that we got through it. That's Mr. Kevin Brobeck sitting on the back row right there. Who's a rock star. There's no way to put it otherwise. And we love you and we appreciate you, Kevin. And then Mr. Glenn Rosenoff sitting down there hoping that I won't mention his name.
Yep.
But he's a rock star too.
Thank you.
And he was all in. Both these guys were all in from the moment it started. And they're still all in today. And you know what a situation like this does is it helps bring some things in focus. So we've had plans, folks, underway for a new water plant now for well over a year. The need for that came into focus. We've had plans for upgrades to our transmission line to negate the need for a pump station down on Rock House Road. That really came into focus. We've had plans to do backup generating ability at the water plant and whatever pump stations we rely on to get water to the tank on Persimmon Ridge that then lets it flow in gravity-wise to the rest of town. That really came into focus. But what everybody should understand is the same determination that had these guys not spending time with their families at Christmas time, not being with their kids or their parents to see this thing through, is what we will depend on to get things the way they ought to be. And we'll get there. And it's going to be okay. Chuck alluded to it, but not too long ago, saying about 2008, we had a pretty rough time going with our wastewater treatment plant, our sewer plant.
He was ready to collapse.
It was, we had untreated waste going into the creek, the Little Limestone Creek. That's how bad it was. And the neighbors had complained about it for a long time. It didn't manifest itself, thank goodness, like this happened over Christmas in terms of just a crisis, public health crisis, but it was bad. And the board and town staff and the people of Jonesborough banded together to solve the problem. And we're going to do the same thing. So you've got a determined board. You have an absolutely dedicated and heroic staff that will get this done. We just ask that you be patient with us. I hope that everyone got to see where our heart is during this thing. We're not perfect, but we do care. And we understand that there was a lot of suffering, a lot of worry, a lot of heartache, certainly a lot of headache. But we're proud of the effort that was put forth, and we know that it is imperative that the situation be addressed, and we are going to make it a priority. We're going to be talking about things we could have done better, of course, as time goes, as we recover from the shell shock phase of this thing. And then rest assured, we're going to prioritize the things already underway and try to accelerate them a little bit more that will help alleviate the potential of something like this happening again. 0 degrees for 3 days with a 40-mile-an-hour wind ain't East Tennessee weather. I've got a cousin that lives in South Dakota. I called him and said, "You can come get your weather." It somehow wandered down here, Chuck. But our pipes aren't buried that deep. Our houses aren't insulated that well, and quite honestly, we're just not used to it. So, just like to thank everybody for your love. We had quite a bit of communication during that time from all manner of folks, keeping the board updated and involved. And we just want to convey our love and appreciation for the people of this community, and especially for our staff and for the people that really, really made it happen. So that's what I wanted to say.
Very good, Kelly. Just to finish up with that, we got to thank our county partners too, because we did have the sheriff's department got out there and helped look for leaks and brought some inmates with them, and that really gave us a good jump start. And the volunteer fire departments out there, handing out water and spending their time during the holidays doing the same as our guys. We had a lot of great help, and it was a learning experience for me to get out into the county and meet some of these folks, and I enjoyed it. Had a chance to go to Bowmantown, Ruatan, and try a little bit of their breakfast, and I just think that's something going forward to. I want to make sure our town of Jonesborough, kind of touches with the county a little bit more often than maybe what we have in the past. Virginia, do you have anything you'd like to share? Okay. Adam, Terry.
Same, just very grateful. Shows the community we live in.
Yep.
All right. Anything, Adam? Okay. All right. That's for Alderman comments. We'll move into citizens' comments. I had that down on the list, but I'm going to go ahead and move that up there. Is anyone here that'd like to speak to the board tonight that's a resident of our town? Ruth, you will just state your name and address. That's for the records.
Well, I'm Ruth Verhage. I live at 601 West Main Street. And I came tonight wanting to say basically what Kelly has said. And I talked to Chuck about this. I think I would very much like to see the town do a reception or some kind of something to recognize and honor those that did the work to put our water lines back together. And it would give other citizens the opportunity to come and thank those people. And I am just amazed at what was accomplished in a week.
How big's your dining room?
I think we might need to use the visitors.
Oh, okay, all right. Just want to check.
But I just think that there are other citizens that would very much like to come and say thank you to those that worked all night long in that 0-degree weather.
Oh yeah, that wind chill too.
I just want to echo it.
We'll do that, Ruth. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move right into town attorney comments. Jim, you got anything for us?
The one thing I was going to report to you is that we will be going back to court on the Beals matter on the 17th. So we'll be dealing with that. And I guess I might just add that as to sort of add on to a little bit about what's been said. In my county role, I had an opportunity to meet with some of the county folks that were involved in this for about an hour the other day before they gave a report to the Public Safety Committee. And one of the things that struck me was one of the folks who deals with emergencies across the region, not just the county here, but the region. And he talked about that he didn't recall a time that he'd ever seen people that were the boots on the ground folks deal with the problems that ours have to deal with, the cold and in those ditches with the water. with the attitude that they had. He talked about how everybody was helping each other out. They weren't grouchy. They were taking care of each other, and he was just amazed at that. And I felt like that ought to be passed on to you all the time.
Thanks, Jim. All right, we're going to move into old business now. And the first item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning second and final reading of an ordinance rezoning property along Old Boones Creek Road from R1 to PRD. We touched on that earlier, but Alderman, what's your wishes there? Looks
Move to approve.
a motion to approve from Alderman Countermine,
Second.
second from Alderman Wolf. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Mr. Recorder.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Good to have you in Jonesborough, Mr. Hawk. All right, next is discussion and possible action concerning approval of a placement of the downtown camera installation. You see what the recommendation is there. It's a pretty good write-up in that. There's some cost involved. So,
I
Alderman,
just want to thank Craig for helping work all that out. There was a little bit of discussion that wasn't heading anywhere, and he jumped in and got it, so thank you.
very good. And we've got a good camera angle there and everything. You feel comfortable about it?
Heck, yeah, we're gonna see everything.
Uh-oh.
You just watch the news in the morning. You'll see downtown Jonesborough every morning, every bit of it. Yeah.
Well, one camera trained on Aaron's house up there.
Aaron Bible's house, right in the front window, that's right.
Yikes.
Do you know where the money's coming from? What account?
I can pick an account. I don't have one offhand.
Is that more out of the tourism area, you think?
I mean, it's $5,000. I mean, there's different funding sources. I could have given you that before tonight. Would have been
I'm
nice.
sorry. I should have asked you today. I'm sorry.
No. I'm saying me. I could have given a funding source.
Will you find a funding source?
Yes, I can
Okay,
find a
very
funding
good.
source. And how about if I report back the funding source that I and Robert chose? I'll put him on the
There you
spot
go.
too.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we approve as presented.
Motion to approve from Alderman Wolf.
I'll second.
A second from Alderman Dixon. Any other discussion? Call for the vote, Mr. Recorder.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
All right, motion carried, and that takes care of our old business. Now we'll move into new business, and it's got a couple of events first up. Discussion and possible action concerning approval of the town's special events, the St. Patty's Day celebration, and the Brews and Tunes 2023 season. That's two great events, always well attended, and managed well. Alderman, what's your wishes there? We can take those two together, right, Jim?
That's fine. I do need to say one thing about the
Okay.
St. Patty's Day celebration. There's nothing wrong with the way this has been presented with an application from Tennessee Hills, but I would like to point out that their sales are totally governed by the ABC. If the event, in this case, it's the town holds the event though, so because of that, I think it is appropriate for you all to approve both them and what will be done through the restaurant downtown. Both approving both of those as part of the town event, but they're governed separately, and this one will be governed by the ABC.
Okay.
So can we pass these two together still?
Yes, I don't see
Okay.
the problem if you want to pass both of them together.
I'll move for approval as presented, A, 1 and 2, 6A, 1 and 2.
Got a motion to approve from Alderman Wolf.
Second.
A second from Alderman Causey. Any other discussion, Alderman?
How's that related to those, this is the time for the applications for the outdoor use permits from all the different businesses that have them? Is
This is not even taking place in that same area. This is down at Storytelling, so this wouldn't have anything to do with that, but it is the time that those applications will be
And
done.
those applications were sent out to all the holders. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Call for the vote, Mr. Recorder.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Now we'll move into 6B, is discussion and possible action concerning approval of a resolution adopting new fire line tap fees and services. And just kind of updating those fees along with some of the other things. So, Alderman, what's your wishes there? You see the recommendation?
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve from Alderman Dixon.
Second.
Second from Alderman Countermine. Any other discussion?
May I just add, Mayor, this is basically just a cleanup. The 3-inch, 4-inch, 6-inch are the same inside and outside rates that the board passed back in November. This just cleans it up with the fire line tap fees and services.
Yeah. Okay.
Call it whatever you need to call it.
Off the vote, Mr. Recorder.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. All right, discussion and possible action concerning approval of a public safety training facility. And this was a good read, and I think it's kind of interesting. Alderman, what's your thoughts on that? You see the recommendation?
I think it's great that the food pantry gets more room and the police get more room. It's
Yep.
wonderful.
Yep.
And I'd make a motion to approve this facility.
All right, got a motion to approve from Alderman Wolf.
Second.
Second from Alderman Causey. Any other discussion? All right, call for the vote, Mr. Recorder.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, very good. Motion carried.
Thank you for that action.
Who, us?
Yes,
Okay.
I know you didn't want to be identified, but
All right, our next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning approval of a grant for the Public Safety Department.
That's awesome.
Deals with Violent Crime Intervention Fund grant. Like we're slated to receive about $93,000 out of that, so we appreciate the state for that.
Mayor, I would like to say, and I may have misinterpreted the tone of the write-up, but it would just seem to me that in this case, no match requirement for this grant. It would just seem to me, county administrator ought to be able to say, yes, we're going to apply. And then the board can always vote to approve the funding. I mean, there was no match. I mean, it was like it's kind of a no-brainer in my mind.
Anytime there's not a
Yes.
match, we're gonna.
Yeah.
it was probably a better tone because Mr. Ford helped me with this one. But no, there are things to it. I'll let Mr. Ford explain. There are some things to it on the $93,000 on why we wanted authorization to apply, and then see when it comes back for approval to see whether or not overall, because it's a 3-year program, and so $93,000 with no match in a 3-year period is not.
It won't cover what you
It's
want.
not a great deal, right? It won't cover
Yeah,
a lot. So, and there's a lot of different, lot of different language in the grant that has to be not just skimmed over, but reread. It's very federal type language. But do you want to add anything,
Sure.
Mr. Ford?
At first, we got notification that the grant funding was going to be available, and that there would be no match. Then, at some point, they sent notification out for all of the police and sheriff's offices across the state of Tennessee as to basically what their allocation would be. There was also some other direction in there with respect to if you're going to apply for multiple years, then you need to submit a budget for each of those fiscal years. And according to the state of Tennessee, that 3-year period would be fiscal year 23, fiscal year 24, and fiscal year 25. So for some time, we have been trying to determine, was that $93,801 per year, or was it total for the 3 years? And so we actually found out midday Friday, that it in fact was a one-time $93,801 allocation total for the 3-year period. Because it is the Violent Crime Intervention Fund, it's very narrow in scope as to what you can apply for. And so the concern is, if we're going to apply for this grant for an investigator, that's typically going to be an officer that already has quite a bit of experience to be able to start in that role with the ground running, and without the board's support to say you're going to continue that funding when the grant runs out, which this grant would last maybe 2 years. We're still going to have to purchase equipment and so on for them, because again, that equipment, that grant's not going to cover the salary plus the equipment. So I don't know of an investigator that would come to work knowing in 18 months to less than 2 years, if the funding runs out, they may not have a job. That would be a difficult sell in my opinion. So that's the main reason why it's presented to the board as it is, because, you know, if we apply for that investigator position, then when the 93,801 is gone without a supplemental appropriation, and I don't see that happening since it's through FY 25, then when the funding runs out, we would either have to lay that employee off or continue funding through the town.
And but that position, if we continued funding through the town, it could become an investigator of some other type other than violent crime. If we didn't see that need, they could be used somewhere else at that point, right?
Yes, and again, you know, that would be the main function of that position, certainly for grant purposes. And they would work closely with the district attorney's office regarding that. And of course, you know, you would also want that individual there to be working not only in the community, but you know, having specialized training and training other officers in that specialized training. And also, you know, that investigator would certainly be available to investigate other crimes if he doesn't have particular cases with respect to violent crime that he would be working on at that particular time.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. I certainly don't think our department needs to be getting smaller. If anything, with the growth, we're going to need to be getting larger anyway. So this is still seems like a good opportunity for me, even though if it is, you know, 2 years, I'm sure we're going to have use after that. So Alderman, what's your thoughts on that?
How much violent crime do we have in Jonesborough? Can you answer that? Roughly.
It depends on the classification, because their classification, our classification is one from one. So, under certain classification, residential burglary, but in this situation, most of what they're talking about is aggravated assault, person crime.
Shootings, I will say too, I can get you the exact percentage from the crime stats of last year, but they classify a lot of those, Virginia, based on per 100,000 population. So the town of Jonesborough's arrest, as an example, for assaults, I will tell you, is above the state average. But again, that's based on, you know, you've got a small town, you've got 30-some thousand vehicles a day on 11E, 12 to 15 on, you know, Main Street in Jonesborough. So you also have to look at that transient population. To give you an example, you know, Gatlinburg has about the same number of residents that we have, yet they have about 85 police officers in Gatlinburg because they see millions of visitors a year. So they have to keep up with that transient population. So I don't want to sound like Jonesboro's a high crime area, because it's not. But in relation to that per 100,000 statistic, we are a little above average on our arrest annually.
I'm not against this, but I was just wondering if this person can only do that, will it keep them busy?
That's their primary responsibility.
But they can do other things within your
Yes.
department? Okay,
Yes.
that's good. That answers
Yes.
my question.
I should have shared the text I had with Alderman Dixon. He had asked me the same thing. I think we're also part of different task force, human trafficking and things
Yes.
like that, that maybe we don't exceed the national statistic, but as you said, there's 30,000 vehicles traveling through here per day.
And we're responsible for their safety as well.
Well, I'd rather be in front of something than trying to play catch up later. So it sounds to me like a good grant to apply for. Alderman, any other questions, or take a motion?
Move to approve as presented.
All right, got a motion to approve from Alderman Wolf,
Second.
second from Alderman Causey. Any other discussion? Call for the vote, Mr. Recorder.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Motion carried. Next item on our agenda is discussion and possible action concerning approval of a change order for GRC Construction, which is the Jackson Theater project, and just changing the date there, but it looks like looks like September of this year is kind of the target date, right, Glenn?
Correct, right. So this basically substantiates the change in time period of expected completion time. Basically, rolling September 13th, 2022 to September 29th, 2023.
It's 2 weeks instead of 2 years more, so that's good news.
Well, that was one thing after the supply chain issues were coming out. That's
It
one area
was.
we got hit the most down there with just some delays in concrete and material getting brought in there. It delayed it about 6 months, so it's understandable that your contractor's going to need extended time. So good news is it's just looking like we're going to finally break that thing up.
Right.
And we're already talking about, who's going to, lead that facility down there and all the things that we can do. So it's going to be exciting to talk about this project next many months. We're not September for us. I guess we're going to start on that soon. All right, Alderman, I'll take a motion. Motion to approve from Alderman Dixon.
Second.
Second from Alderman Countermine. Any other discussion? Call for the vote, Mr. Recorder.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
Yeah, motion carried. Now we'll move into discussion and possible action concerning approval of a one-time extension to the compensatory time for exempt employees, or comp time.
I think this is a very, very critical thing, considering the fact that they've had to sacrifice their time, families, and well-being during this recent holiday season. So I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Okay. Got a motion to approve from Alderman Wolf. Any other discussion?
Second.
Got a second from Alderman Countermine. Discussion?
I'd like to add that, and I know Mr. Rosenoff knows, but
I was
I'd
trying
like
to
to
get
see a
ahead of you.
list of all the employees and their time.
Yeah, and I apologize. Our deadline for providing EMA with all of the hours to those employees that were part of the emergency response was due this morning. So payroll and that. So we had to add up all the employees that were involved, and we had to send that basically today in its entirety to EMA for potential eligible reimbursements, possibly. And so we'll get that comp time, and we'll send out a master list to all the board members.
You could just copy what you sent to EMA, and that way we know all of
Well,
it.
we didn't. Exempt employees are not covered under the.
But I mean, the extra expenses also.
Oh yeah, we can give you
Okay.
that
Sounds
full
good.
report plus the comp time.
Very good. Anything else, Virginia?
Good.
So you see, Virginia's area of liaison is going to be in the personnel and things like that. She's on top of it. Call for the vote, Mr. Recorder.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Next to last item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning approval of an agreement for the 2023 Music on the Square season. And we had a great season last year. And Sam Love's doing a great job lining up great groups and very diverse music, so really enjoying that. Alderman, what's your pleasure?
Mayor, I would like to say, and I want to say it publicly because I know there have been a couple of times that I've probably come off as sharp or maybe. I know it's hard to imagine.
What?
I know, but maybe
No,
sharp
he really did.
Or somewhat. The word that came to my mind was acerbic. I said, no, that's a 75-cent word right there. So let me so. But I may have come off as kindly sharp at times about Music on the Square, mainly because of a desire to want to see some diversity out of the event, and it's been a great event down through the years. It's been a very healthy and community building event throughout the years. And this past year, I will say publicly, that I've been pleasantly surprised with the lineup, the attendance, the energy behind Music on the Square, and I just hope that continues. And just very, very proud of the leadership behind this event. And I want to make that publicly known that I'm just very, very pleased.
Sam's doing a good job.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing a very good job. Doing a very good
And
job.
sometimes you just gotta have a reset, get a little new energy in there.
Yeah.
And he's doing great.
Absolutely. Is that a motion to approve, Adam?
It is a motion to approve.
All right, got a motion to approve from Alderman Dixon. Got a second from Alderman Countermine. Any other discussion?
Can you control the rain?
Yeah, we had a couple.
We're
Yeah,
working on that.
starting off a little bit rainy there.
Is that his job description?
It's and other duties.
Well, there's one that rained and they moved it into the visitor center and it ended up being like a party house in there. It was really good. Yeah. First time I actually went to Music on the Square, people were up there just dancing like crazy and it was all ages. I'm like, wow. All right. Call for the vote, Mr. Recorder.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Counterman.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Another iconic event. All right, last on the list is discussion and possible action concerning approval of a proposal for a design service for the Agricultural Learning Center. That's going to be a special thing for us. And Alderman, got any questions or comments about that? Certainly something we need to do. It's going to be a great addition to our new school site. Appreciate all the help that went into securing the funding, or part of the funding for that, from Rebecca Alexander, our state rep. She had great help in that, and so has others. So it's going to be an addition to our new school that nobody else is going to have. So
You got it. I'll make a motion to approve as presented there.
motion to approve from Alderman Wolf.
I'll second.
Second from Alderman Dixon. Any other discussion? Call for the vote, Mr. Recorder.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Counterman.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. I think that's a wrap. Meeting adjourned.
There we go. Well, I tried to help you hurt.